Okay. Good morning. And what was the last thing? Core plan. That's done. Core plan is done, and we started discussing something like 5-year plans, right? 5-year plans. Yeah. And we have seen something like the first plan. What was the focus? Isn't it? Okay. And I've also talked about the change or shift from imperative to indicative planning. No, imperative to indicative. Okay. And today, what Niti Aayog is doing? Today, what Niti Aayog is doing is a perspective planning. Talked about perspective planning, right? So perspective planning is something like you find 10 to 15 to 20 years, 10 to 15 to 20 years. And if you would have checked the newspapers also, there was some 7th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog. Okay, and you will observe that there were a few important things that they have discussed in the Niti Aayog recent Governing Council. Of course, some chief ministers did not attend as a protest, etc. But that's something political in nature. But what you will observe, why that change, etc. Today we will see. Today we will discuss. So the evolution from planning commission, which was mainly into framing 5-year plans, till the formation of Niti Aayog in 2015. Okay, so that means one observation which you would have made, one very important observation is something like earlier we were focusing on something like remember, imperative planning. Okay. Then again in 1966 to 69, after the third 5-year plan. Remember, first 3, then 3. So after the first 3 5-year plans, we had something called as what? Plan holiday. There's a memory technique to remember. Okay, so first 3, then comes 3. This is a plan holiday. Okay. And this is the period, this was a period after the most difficult situation. And difficult situation was between what? 1961 to 1966. That is the, which 5-year plan? Third 5-year plan. That is what we have seen. And this 5-year plan, the growth rates were minimum. The growth rate which we achieved. Of course, we did not achieve the target. That's a different thing. But the growth rate was minimum, war expenditure, etc., drought, etc., all that. Okay. And during the third 5-year plan only, we also established an institution called Food Corporation of India. This history is important. Okay. So in the year 1965, we have come up with FCI, isn't it? Okay. 62 China war, 65 droughts, early 60s. Now, what is the realization? Why FCI? Basically, to handle hunger whenever there is some drought, etc. Whenever there is some drought, some prices. So, we wanted to maintain something called as buffer. Okay, now this is something like buffer stock, but too much of buffer. Today, the challenge is, in our food security class, I will discuss that too much of buffer they are maintaining, more than what is required. If you maintain for vote bank politics. You want to give more benefits to the farmer in the form of the minimum guarantee, which we call it as the MSP. If you don't know MSP, don't worry. As of now, it is the minimum guarantee given to the farmer so that he will continue producing that particular crop. For example, rice, wheat. Mainly buffer will be staple crops. Mainly buffer they were maintaining something like rice and wheat. And also remember, for rice and wheat, there is no upper limit. You know what is upper limit? No, upper limit means you're procuring so much. You will not procure beyond that. Okay, so like this, because of these conditions, the FCI was procuring, and FCI over a period of time became highly inefficient. I told you, in India, something you come up with for doing good, you'll land up doing something bad. Same with FCI. If FCI would have been a private institution, it would have been sued long back. FCI, whenever job in FCI comes, you should write. Every 2-3 years, the notification comes. So work is not there. He will pay 54,555 rupees. Okay, and work is very limited. Why? Nothing you will do. You will be observing. Food grains coming, getting rotting in the open. Why? You do not have storage capacity. Storage capacity. And this is the biggest challenge also for what? This is the biggest challenge also for, if you see this challenge, food inflation. Food inflation. Today also there is an article, I think, food inflation with respect to, that means that to Elon Musk is saying food inflation will, today for everything Elon Musk is commenting. Okay, I don't know why he is commenting, I don't know, and what are governments doing? Now, Elon Musk estimates that the food inflation, global food inflation is going to decrease. Okay, global prices are going to come down. I have to get this. AC? It's not working? Temperature. Okay. Yeah. Comforts, yes. Yeah. I got it. Got it, ma. I can feel it. Heater is switched on. Yes, I can feel that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. 2 minutes. Okay. Okay. Now this is about food inflation. He says food inflation. So according to Elon Musk, if food inflation is going to come down, then automatically what will happen to our CPI? Consumer, you have discussed inflation, no? CPI is also going to come down. I'll talk about it a little while later, that interlinking article and all later. But now see here, we came up with this for doing something good, but at the same time, there are a lot of issues and negatives of FCI, which I will discuss later in our food security. But you know what is FCI now? It procures food grains, maintains something called as buffer, and mainly buffer limit, upper limit is not there with respect to rice and wheat. Okay, rice and wheat. And because of overstocking of food grains, because for vote bank politics, that means you want to give more MSPs to farmers, state governments give even above MSP to procure food grains. Okay, and the food in the open market is going to become costly. Why? You're stocking grains, wasting them, and this is also one of the reasons for what? Food inflation. But that time, we cannot increase our food grains during that point of time using this scheme called PL 480. Remember PL 480? First of all, they decided not to give. Okay, they decided not to give. Moreover, a huge country like India cannot be managed through food imports. A huge country like India cannot be managed through food imports. Through import, how will you manage? India is huge. India is not Switzerland. Okay, so therefore, something indigenous you have to do, and that is how the thought of first green revolution that came up during this plan holiday period only, 66 to 69. And also remember, India devalued its currency, Remember devaluation? Yes, devaluation. India devalued its currency for the first time in 1966. India devalued its currency. Devalued, not depreciate. India devalued its currency for the first time in 1966. I think you got my point. Yeah. And 1966 to 69, during this period, we brought in a technological revolution also in the form of, remember the story, first green revolution. Now when we talk about first green revolution, in this first green revolution, what are the things we decided to do? Okay, so we were inspired by Norman Borlaug's high yield variety seeds. Okay, so which will give yield at a faster pace. So one, we came up with high yield variety seeds. 2, chemical fertilizers. 3, we also were focusing on what? Irrigation facilities. Okay, along with irrigation facilities, for farmer to buy all this, you have to give what? He needs something called as what? Credit also, loan. Poor farmer cannot afford go and buy chemical fertilizers, high yield variety seeds, for which you need the support of government in the form of subsidy, okay, or the banks also should help the farmer with respect to credit. Now one more understanding here to make this successful. First of all, to protect the farmers from money lenders. Earlier, the British tenure systems were there, which were hopeless and useless. For example, one was Zamindari, Mahalwari and Raitwari systems. In land reforms I will discuss, in history also you will discuss this. Okay, Zamindari system was neither beneficial for the British nor for the peasant. Okay, so this Zamindar is an intermediary between the alien government and the farmer or the peasant. Are you able to get this? And the rates that were charged were very, very high. And because of this, in the Raitwari system, what will happen? The British government directly collects taxes in the form of cash. Directly it is going to collect in the form of cash, and the alien government, the British, is ruthless. Ruthless in the sense there is no output and still you want money. And this is the period what happened. Obviously, when that is the case, what will happen? The farmer, the poor farmer, had to depend on a parasitic class called money lender. Parasitic class called money lender. Money lender, so once in debt, always in debt. Not for Vijay Mallya. Once in debt, always in debt is a quotation for whom? Farmer. Okay, and farming is the most riskiest business performed by the poorest man on earth. Performed by poorest man. Okay, leaving aside few states like Punjab and Haryana, where farmers are doing well. But otherwise, I'm talking about Maharashtra, I'm talking about Karnataka, most of the states, farmers are in trouble. So this money lender started. Now if you want to reduce the dependence, on money lenders, then obviously what the role of banking system should expand. The role of banking system should expand. They should give proper loans to the farmer. The farmer should be given easy credit so that the dependence on money lenders is going to reduce. Okay, along with many benefits, along with handling this particular situation, they also wanted to regulate banks better, and that is the reason in 1969 our madam decided that we will nationalize banks. Nationalization of banks. Madam decided means decided. Finish. You like it or not, you should adhere. That means some banks were not happy. Immediate cash is not given. Still, nationalization. How many banks were nationalized? Around 14 banks were nationalized in 1969. Okay, and in 1980, another 6 were also nationalized. Are you able to get this? Nationalization means what? Converting private into government. Today it is reverse with respect to banking system. Today it is reverse, no? Last 3 years, banking notifications have come down. Okay, why? Government believes with respect to privatization and mergers also. Are you able to get this? Okay, so is this clear? Okay, now there is reverse thing which you should observe here. So now nationalization of banks, 19. So one of the main intention, of course, many things are there, but nationalization of banks will also help. Nationalization of banks will also help in bringing in something called as what? The expectation was it will bring in what? Financial inclusion. Everybody knows this word, no? Okay, spreading of banking services to every nook and corner. Everybody should have a bank account. And for the farmer, you can, the government banks should be spreading their branches in rural areas and help the government farmer to handle the first green revolution also. Otherwise, the farmer will become over dependent on the money lender. He will be exploited. This is also one more reason. Of course, regulation of banks is there, but we thought we can ask the government banks to go and set up branches in those areas where profits are not coming. Okay, and still you have to go. Okay, so this is called as financial inclusion. So this is about till 1969. Hope it is clear. You have understood something till here. Is this clear? Okay, now let's see the planning part. Understood? And first time we devalued our currency also. Devalued our currency also during the 1966. Now see, if you see third 5-year plan also, okay, you say self-reliant and self-generating economy. Okay, always we use this word. Though we did not become self-reliant so fast, but you know, we were using, we discussed no long-term goals of planning. Yes, we've discussed long-term goals of planning. Okay, so this is something which you should know, that we were also here talking about self-reliant and self-generating. Now another important observation, I told you that Mahalanobis model, we've talked about Mahalanobis, that continued till 1990, undercurrent. Mahalanobis is the undercurrent till 1990, which focused on basic industries and also capital good industries. That is what we discussed, isn't it? Okay, so here you will observe food grain production on one side. Obviously, when you know that food grains are not there, you are dependent on PL 480, etc. And heavy industrialization. That means you did not stop heavy industrialization as a logic. That means Mahalanobis did not end. That is what you should observe. Mahalanobis did not end. Though second 5-year plan, we were saying will focus on heavy industry. That Mahalanobis did not end. It started continuing. Okay. So this is something like what you should understand. And first two plans, we have understood. We were too much into heavy industry. Now again you thought, no, something has to be done with respect to what? Agriculture. Again, we have to do something with respect to agriculture, and already drought. Whenever drought comes, you will decide no. Okay, so that you should do something with respect to agriculture. When farmers were dying after 1995, 97 also, in 2000 also, early 2000, we were saying agriculture will be our prime moving force. Agriculture will be our prime moving force. From the beginning, it was industry that was our prime moving force. Okay, I think you got this. Okay. And there was a complete failure. There was a complete failure with respect to reaching the targets of the plan. You can see here targeted growth, and the actual growth is somewhat very, very less. Okay, so this is what you should observe. Okay, and here India also faced food shortage, and here the food aid was popularly called PL 480, which was provided, and we also set up something like FCI. Food Corporation of India. Okay, and we also thought about these banks, like UTI was established in 1963. Now these are facts. Okay, these are facts. Now will UPSC ask these facts directly? 95% they may not ask. Okay, but we will have a logic in mind. Tomorrow, you know, FCI is there. You have a logic. What is the logic? When did we get drought? Is the logic. So logic is clear that 1960s. So probably FCI would have been set up around 1965. Using logic, we can decide when did we devalue our currency for the first time. So whenever crisis is there, deficits are increasing, we generally tend to devalue. So we had wars, etc. We were importing machinery, etc. So that was the period we decided. So obviously it should be somewhere around 1966. Like that, if you use logic, probably you will remember it better. You will remember it better. Are you able to get this? When is plan holiday? Plan holiday will generally come in two cases. Why will one change in government? They'll stop the previous plan, okay, and they will say, I will do my planning. Ego. Are you able to get my point? No. 1978, yesterday we discussed rolling plan, isn't it? Remember, we've written also what is rolling plan. Which government? Janata government, 1978. But again, Congress government comes in 1980. You wait. I'll come up with our. Okay. So this is one of the failure of planning is also politicization of planning. We can write that point in exam. Okay, nothing to worry. Politicization of planning process. No, politicization. That means based on the political parties, they're changing. And another one is when will there be holidays? When there is crisis. So 1961 to 66, there was crisis kind of situation, food and all, and therefore holiday comes up between 66 to 69. That is how use a logic. If you use a logic only, you will remember. Otherwise, all these facts are a headache.
What is the benefit of
your concentration, your investment allotment, your budget targets, everything will be moving towards that sector. Okay, when I am framing my budget, so I can't allot everything. So now what was the agenda of the 22-23 budget, let's say? Capital expenditure. If you ask me, that means government wants to focus on infrastructure. Government says around 32% I will put into public investment, infrastructure. Why? Because COVID was there, $5 trillion, private investor may not invest, therefore public investment. To motivate private investment, you need public investment. Like that. Otherwise, how will I know where I should focus? I think you got my point, right? That is the reason. You have to focus on something, no? You can't focus on everything. Okay, so this is clear, right? Okay, then here, though the draft of the fourth plan was ready, okay, so the annual plan was planned and formulated the next 3 years due to the worsened financial condition. Okay, and these 3 years are termed as what? Plan holiday. So during this annual plans only, what we will observe is, we have come up with the first green revolution. During this annual plans only, we have come up with first green revolution, because you need to increase the buffer stock. Otherwise, how will you handle hunger? Okay, madam was able to say Garibi Hatao. It's not Indira Hatao, Garibi Hatao. Not Indira Hatao, Garibi Hatao is possible provided you have buffer. Without buffer, how will you do? Okay, first the buffer got overstocked, rotting. Better you distribute. Second, you will also have election benefits. You will handle poverty and also you will have election benefits. Both happen together. I think you got my point, right? Okay, so this is what we did. Okay, in these, the economy absorbed the shocks. During 66 to 69, in these 3 annual plans, the economy was somehow trying to absorb the shocks. Okay, absorb the shocks of the previous plan, 1961 to 66. Is this clear? Is the story clear? Story should be clear. So tomorrow, if a question comes up with respect to anything related to financial inclusion, I think I mentioned this. Do you think financial inclusion is a prerequisite for inclusive growth? Discuss. Just like that. Huh? Okay, so this is not asked in UPSC. Okay, so there was one more similar type of, so that means my introduction can be financial inclusion as a process was focused from the beginning, which can be seen in the bank's nationalization process, 1969, where 14 banks were nationalized. That means I'm pulling it from the history, that is 1969. I think you got my point, right? So that is very clear. Then if there is a question asked on, okay, India's manufacturing should be more of labor intensive than capital intensive if we want to make in India campaign a big success. Just like that. Okay. They asked something else, but I think you got my point. No, labor intensive than, it is needed for not only making Make in India a success, it is also needed to handle the challenges of unemployment. The question can be, India should focus on labor intensive manufacturing, okay, than capital intensive manufacturing if you want to increase jobs or if you want to really handle the problem of unemployment. Or the question can be something like, in the wake of industrialization 4, that is what? Artificial intelligence, or you have robotics and all this, no? So, focusing on labor intensive manufacturing becomes very important. Focusing on labor intensive manufacturing becomes very important if India has to handle the challenges, or India has to really handle this problem of industrialization 4, artificial intelligence. Why? Because tomorrow jobs will be replaced. Then I will pull my introductions. India's capital intensive manufacturing process or focus on heavy industrialization started way back in the second 5-year plan as part of Mahalanobis model. Are you able to get my point? No thinking again. I think and write and no. Already it is there, no? Already it is there. So capital intensive, heavy industrialization already there. Where? Second 5-year plan. So straight away my intro will be second 5-year plan. And current affairs will be, all the current affairs will be, all the conclusions will be my current affairs. Current affairs can be government's program with Atmanirbhar Bharat packages to MSME, Startup Stand Up India. Are you able to get my point? No, like that. I'll not complicate, but just to give you a hint, that's all. Is that okay? Then come back here. Okay, now fourth 5-year plan. Okay, 1969, after that plan holiday. Okay. Now here, one important aspect is handling competition. Now this is something you should understand. Now I'll ask you a few questions. Okay, so here, see, India before 1990s or 1991, okay, and India after 1991. Few things we have seen yesterday. Now the question is, I'll ask you one question. Handling competition, is it easy before 1991? Or handling competition, is it easy after 1991? First question. Second question, is it easy to handle black money before 1991? Is it easy to handle black money today or after 1991? What happened? You're thinking, you're doing PhD? Huh? What? Before 1991 it is difficult? Easy. Difficult both, before, after. Here it is comparison, ma. Handling competition obviously is easy. I'll tell you why also. Okay, easy. Handling black money is easy. That is why Modi ji's demonetization policy is a failure. Failure in the sense, again, if you say complete failure, no, it is a partial success. But partial success for what is the question? Your objective of handling black money or money laundering was not achieved because of demonetization. That objective we have not achieved. Okay. Why we have not achieved is because after 1991, black money is not in the form of cash. When it is not in the form of cash, how will you handle black money? Okay, that is the reason people like Subramanya Swamy, etc. say, they mention that our government does not know economics. Okay, so why? Because demonetization is something like will be successful before 1990 because black money is in the form of purely cash. Now you have tax havens like Mauritius is there, Cayman Islands, okay, you have Swiss, you can easily route money to different places, etc. So handling black money is a challenge after 1990s. Okay, number one. Handling competition also. Competition first of all was less. Okay, before 1991. And the competition was mainly handled by an act called MRTP. Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices Act. What act? Monopoly Restrictive Trade Practices. It will avoid what? It will restrict what? Monopoly. The logic is to restrict monopoly. Okay. But after 1991, it's not just about monopoly. You have something like predatory pricing. Heard of this word? Predatory pricing. Okay, predatory pricing. Okay, you have challenges like dumping. All this is there. I'll talk about it. I'll give you an example to understand. You see the commercial ads also. Ads if you see. Okay, so you will have this number one Yari. You have seen number one Yari ad. Three friends jump into the water. I think earlier water only they were jumping, now I don't know. And when they come up, they say McDowell's soda. Okay, now for soda you don't need an ad. Let's be open. For that soda, do you want to sell soda? Okay, and you have three people jumping into water, and there's this Ranveer Singh coming up and says, Ranveer Singh has RS. RS is not Ranveer Singh, Royal Stag. RS is not Ranveer Singh. Oh, Ranveer Singh I know, no? Ranveer Singh, you need not write, no, Royal Stag. You are appealing somewhere. You're appealing somewhere and your ad is somewhere. Carlsberg, that man moves out of the water and he says, Carlsberg glasses. Glass. For glass you need that fellow. Okay, so this is basically top of the mind recall. Top of the mind means when I go to the shop, Carlsberg, chalo nikalo, Carlsberg. Okay. I think you got my point now. So this is basically not there earlier. Now, this is a different. For example, suppose there are some companies which are spending 195, 196 crores on IPL. Now I make 300 people sit with caps with my brand in the audience. Ram Sudhir. Okay, now this is basically called ambush marketing. Ambush. All these were not there earlier. Are you able to get my point? No, these things were not there. It was now predatory pricing. Predatory pricing is basically pricing to kill competition. You're pricing to kill competition. No, predatory pricing. Okay, are you able to get this? Okay, all this. Similarly, there was increase with respect to mergers. Merger, two companies coming together. And you also have acquisitions. All this was not there much earlier. Acquisition is one company taking over another company. One company taking over another company. One company taking over another company. Are you able to get this? Now complication increased with respect to competition and all, including aspects like predatory pricing. For example, Jio of course I will not say Jio is predatory because government allowed it. Jio was initially free. Jio means Maro. Maro for Airtel, Vodafone. Are you able to get my point? No. So, why? You're pricing. India free means finish. Okay. So, this is something like the change you observe. And therefore, no more MRTP. After 1990, they removed. And presently, competition is handled by an entity called Competition Commission of India. Story is important, so that you will recollect the facts better. Okay. Okay, is this clear? Understood? Okay. Now, okay. Now one more thing, dumping, of course, I will discuss this in your first generation and second generation reform, but dumping is something very dangerous in the sense like, see, China is dumping its products into India. Today, if you see Chinese toys, okay, everywhere, you should ask, is this not China? Okay, so because it is something like, everything is China, electronics, they are good also, but at the same time, dumping means, suppose China is producing a product at this pen is 100 rupees. Cost of production of this pen is 100 rupees in China. Cost of production, cost of production. This pen, cost of production is 100, but China is wantedly selling this pen in India for 90. Okay. This is also called as cost dumping. This is also called as what dumping? Cost dumping. Or we also call it as predatory dumping. Predatory dumping. Predatory dumping. Predatory dumping. Are you able to get this? Predatory dumping means you are dumping to kill the competition. All this dumping understood? You are wantedly trying to sell a product at a cost. One is lower than the price. Another one is lower than the cost of production also. So lower than their cost in their country, I will also call it as cost dumping, or I'll also call it as what? Predatory dumping. So government comes up with certain duties which we will talk later. That is in the taxing class. But this is all not there earlier, and therefore we have come up with, okay, so a better entity to handle competition. That better entity is, okay, very good. See, even multinational companies, if you observe, multinational companies branding. Okay, so it is a typical kind of branding to replace the culture of India. That is to enter the culture of India. That is very, so for example, if you see, this was not there earlier also. This is something like, for example, if you see, Dairy Milk is a chocolate or a sweet? Dairy Milk is a chocolate basically, but kuch meeta ho jaye. Means what? After food, After food, Indian tradition is sweet. Replacing the culture. Replacing the culture. You don't even understand. Okay, for Diwali, earlier students used to give sweet boxes. Now they are giving celebrations. Are you able to get my point? And earlier, the girl was running. Now the boy is running. That ad was there, no? Okay, mother's love, sister's love, Raksha Bandhan, no more sweet. Dairy milk. Now this is something like entering into the cultural fabric. And all this is basically changes after when? After 1991. Okay, so this is something we should understand. Competition is very typical after 1990s, not before 90. Even handling black money is also difficult. Okay, and this is something which fourth plan we were basically talking about. One, nationalization of banks, you will remember, and also you will focus on MRTP. MRTP. Is this clear? Okay. Now, the fifth plan, fifth 5-year plan. Okay, you see here the growth we have targeted growth is somewhere like how much? 4.4 actual growth. You will find in each book growth rates differ. But after checking a lot of doings, a lot of research, we put this. Okay, so somewhere you will find some numbers 4.2, 4.1, but it is targeted growth is somewhere like 4. But we have achieved in the fifth plan. Did we achieve the growth target? Yes. Of course, UPSC will not ask. Like, did you achieve the growth target with respect to which plan? Generally, that is state level exams they will ask. But here, what is our observation is, okay, again, if you see in this plan also, one is Garibi Hatao. Garibi Hatao. Now, there is a confusion. Yesterday I told you. Okay, so Garibi Hatao. CDS says the slogan Garibi Hatao also started off in 5th. But some of the economists say no, the slogan started off in 6th. But going by madam, it's not Indira Hatao but Garibi Hatao. I will go and mark my answer as 5th plan. Okay. So for this to happen, you should first have what? FCI buffer. Okay. Here also we have something like what? Self-reliance. Long-term objective, always self-reliance, food security, industry, everywhere. Self-reliance is one, growth is also one more long-term objective. Yes, poverty was also long-term objective we have written. Reducing inequality was also one of the long-term objective we have written yesterday. Now, handling poverty for the first time, direct strategy, you will only find in the 5th and the 6th plan. Why earlier we believed that growth will lead to reduction of poverty. Growth will lead to reduction of poverty. So that is what we thought. Okay. So moving forward. So now here we said we will come up with minimum needs program to provide certain basic minimum needs and thereby improve the living standards of people. And here you will find there is the there is this anti-poverty, okay, there is this anti-poverty program, 20-point program, adopted in 1975. And 1975 was the period for the first time, I told you, India became a net exporter of food grains, though in minimum amount. You don't have food to eat, how will you export? Are you able to get this? India, which was dependent on PL 480, became a net exporter by a little extent by 1975, indicating that first green revolution was successful to some extent in terms of increasing agricultural yield. Are you able to get this? This clearly shows the positive side of first green revolution, and you can also come up with this kind of program only if you are able to, increase your food grain. Okay, and here targeting especially with respect to BPL families. See, one more reason for failure of trickle down, we discussed, is the problem of identification. We have discussed in poverty class. Okay, identification, identifying the BPL family. Okay, identification, there were exclusion and inclusion errors. There were exclusion and inclusion means you are including somebody who is not BPL. And you are excluding the real BPL, including somebody who is not BPL. This is also a reason. Targeting is also one of the biggest challenge or biggest problem to handle poverty. That is the reason Amartya Sen clearly says there should not be targeting when it comes to food security. Amartya Sen says there should not be targeting when it comes to food security. Okay, why? Food security is a dynamic concept. Okay, when we talk about our poverty lines, okay, you would discuss poverty lines. When you compare Suresh Tendulkar versus Rangarajan, Suresh Tendulkar versus Rangarajan, when you compare both of them, number of poor were more during which one number of poor will be more? Rangarajan. That means basically Suresh Tendulkar committee, if you take, okay, so your poverty lines were something like a little lower. I think you got my point, right? Okay, and in the Rangarajan panel, they took something like a separate basket again, separate basket for what? Urban and rural. Okay, are you able to get this? No, separate basket. What Tendulkar did, Suresh Tendulkar did, he said, uniform basket. Okay, uniform basket for both urban and rural. And also targeting issues, So, but now suppose, for example, my logic is very simple here. If there is a question related to handling poverty, okay, or if there is a question with respect to poverty elevation program, anything, my introduction will move from 5th or the 6th 5-year plan. I think that is what I wanted to tell you. 5th or the 6th 5-year plan. When we talk about food calorie method, it was standardized in the 6th 5-year plan. When they talk about FCI reforms, FCI issues, basically again 1965. This is what you will remember. Is this clear? Understood? Now here we were able to come up with these programs. Because by the time of 1975, India was which was dependent on PL 480, became a net exporter also. Now, don't think great exporter, huh? Not a great exporter, but okay, yes, buffer stock was there, okay, and all that. So that is again, and by the time we recover, whenever in India, by the time you recover, okay, so you will have problems. By the time you recover, you will create your own problems. Okay, so here 1975, again you can see here. By the time we were okay, we were trying to do something. Okay, and you can see here promotion of high rate of growth, better distribution of income, significant growth in the domestic rate of saving. But again, what happened? See. Now if you say, madam is good, okay, madam is strong, but emergency pulled back Indian economy. I'll put it this way. Emergency pulled back Indian economy, pulled back, because you can't take appropriate decisions during emergency. Okay, emergency was declared, the plan was terminated, okay, and now rolling plan was introduced by Janata government in 1978. Are you able to get this? So, you will find whenever there is instability only, the 5-year plans will stop. Instability. Are you able to get this? Again 1975, emergency, some political issues, and therefore again 1978, we have rolling plan. So here, if you observe, this is what is something which you should observe. Here, if you see the 5th plan, 74 to 79, 5th plan, 74 to 79, they were saying, but in between itself, in the 1978, we said we will come up with what? What plan? Rolling plan. Rolling plan, three things. Rolling plan and annual plans are not same. Rolling plan and plan holidays are not same. 66 to 69 was plan holiday. This is what is rolling plan. I think you got my point. We have discussed no rolling plan what it is. Okay, but again what happened? And 79, 80 are separate. But again there is this situation where again the new government came in and you abandoned the rolling plan and we came up with something like the sixth plan. 1978 you came, but again 1982. See, that means what? This what you will remember. Remember like this. Remember like this. You'll remember that 1, 2, 3, 3 plants. Then you had 3, then you had what? 4, 4, 5, then 4, 5, and then you had what? 2 rolling plan. 2 rolling plan, and then comes up what? 6. Is that clear? 3, 2. Note this number, 3. Here, it is 2. Okay, this is rolling. Okay, so that tomorrow in the prelims, you will not have any confusion. Okay, so I think it is clear now. 6th plan, see here. What were the targets in the 6th plan? Okay, targets in the 6th plan. Now see here, one is here if you see, modernization of technology. Okay, so here we were directly thinking about investment. We were directly thinking about investment in this particular plan. And also we were thinking about modernization of technology. Modernization of technology in this plan. Okay, modernization of technology. Okay, and ensuring continuous decrease in poverty and unemployment. Okay, I mentioned that we did not have an appropriate strategy till the 5th and the 6th plan. Okay, but here you realized, okay, fine, we should have, okay. Now a shift was seen from industrialization towards infrastructure. Previous UPSC question. This is a previous UPSC question in which plan you will see a shift from industrialization towards infrastructure. Okay, so this is which plan? 6th plan. You understood that without infrastructure, there will be a challenge with respect to modernization. There will be a challenge with respect to modernization. I think you're getting my point. Okay, then the highest financial allocation during this particular plan went to energy sector. One more fact, in the highest allocation in the 6th plan went to which sector? Energy. These will look little, weird questions, but we can't help. These are basically some kind of facts, some kinds of facts. Okay. Now, one more thing which you'll remember here, NABARD, okay, heard of NABARD? Okay. So, this is a developmental bank, and NABARD was established in 1982. Okay, so and Export-Import Bank also here, Export-Import Bank, you will observe this. Okay, so these are the things which you'll remember. Okay, focus increasing national income, no tension, nobody will ask. Why? Because every time we were thinking about increasing national income. Okay, already asked question was something like a shift was seen from industrialization towards infrastructure in which 5-year plan? It was in 6th. Okay, Garibi Hatao was seen during which plan was asked, and this was asked in CDS. Answer is, they gave what? 5th. Okay, okay. Getting my point right. Okay. And here, some programs focused on generation of employment generation programs, they have also focused here. Unemployment, handling unemployment was one more thing here. Okay, so till here it is sufficient. Don't remember too much here. These things are sufficient. Is this clear? Okay, so this is about what? 6th. And this was a plan which has also standardized our method of measuring poverty, which is the food, heard of this food calorie method, right? Food calorie method was standardized. Standardized means from this plan, every time we were saying we will follow the food calorie method. Food calorie method will be seen as a standard. Okay, so for measuring poverty. Okay, so this is something like the 6th plan. Is this clear? Okay, then see this. Then you have 6th is over. Then 7th you will come. 7th, here I again have to, there are a lot of explanation after the 7th plan. Okay, so 6th, 7th. Okay, so here observe. Here see 1, 2, 3. Then you have what? 3 plan holiday. Then you have 4 and 5. We have what? 2 rolling plan. Okay. Then you have 6 and 7. 2, 3, 2, 2. 6 and 7. Then you have again two annual plans. Like this. 2 annual plans. Are you able to get this? Okay, 2 annual plan. And then everything goes continuous. And from here, oh sorry, that went away. I'm sorry. Okay. If I don't know, if I remove this, this is also going. That goes? What? So what should I do? Huh? ठीक है अभी I don't have time. Okay. I'll not learn now. Okay. Now I was now it is like difficult. Tomorrow I'll do that. Okay. So what I was trying to tell, I think it is clear for you. So okay. Let it go now. See here, 1, 2, 3. But my intention is very clear. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4 and 5, 2 rolling plan. Okay. 6 and 7, again 2 annual plans. Again 2 annual plans. And then you have, see here. Then if you observe, this is clear, then the things are clear. Okay, then you have, this is going now. Okay. So, now you have annual plan is over. Then you have 8, no tension, 9, 10, 11 and 12. No break in between. That is what you will observe. Okay, so that is what I wanted to mention. Is this clear? Understood? No. 3, 3, 2, 2, then 2, 2, and then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Shabash. Yes, very good. Okay, now see here, you come here now. Now this is about the 7th plan. Okay, which was 85 to 90. 85 to 90. See, no country will get into crisis just like that. One day you wake up every morning, not one day you get up and say, I am in crisis. No, you know that you are getting into crisis. Yes or no? You will be having a lot of difficult situations before getting into crisis. Okay, but we neglect it, or we decided to bring in a gradual change. From 1970s, we wanted to bring a gradual change. But since we failed in terms of bringing that gradual change, we landed up in financial crisis by the time of 1991. Are you able to get this point? By the time of 1991, we landed up in financial crisis because this gradual change, we failed to implement it. Whatever may be the reason. Political issues, emergency, started giving more subsidies, deficit started increasing for the government. All these are the reasons. Are you able to get this? All these are the reasons. Okay, so here if you see in the 7th plan 85 to 90, this was a period where you can easily visualize that you are getting into a challenge, problem. And therefore, one observation here, long-term fiscal policy started. That will start only when you know you are in problem. Okay, so long-term fiscal policy started during this point of time. Okay, long-term fiscal policy started during this point of time. And here again, rapid growth with respect to food grain, because you cannot depend on imports. Our import bills were already increasing. Import bills were already increasing. Okay, import bills were already increasing. And then here, if you observe, we were also focusing on several important strategies. Okay, this import substitution is not new. Actually, import substitution as a strategy started off way in the third 5-year plan. Third 5-year plan. Import substitution, remember import substitution? And then we wanted to again talk about import substitution. When will you talk about import substitution? For example, Sri Lanka went ahead with organic farming. It also, one reason is, it did not want to import fertilizers. It was importing fertilizers. Okay, and Sri Lanka did not have brains basically. What happened was, it was importing fertilizers, and it was increasing its trade deficit. Why? Import bill is going on. So he said, now let's say organic farming. And the farmers started protesting because yields were not coming. And Sri Lanka landed up paying more to the farmers than the import bill. Okay, landed up paying more to the farmers than the import bill. Like this, they have taken some decisions. Okay, so this particular 7th plan also focused on development and long-term fiscal policy. And then we understood that we ended up into a financial crisis. Okay, so 8th plan could not take off in 1990 due to fast changing political situation at the center, and the years 1991 and 92 were treated as annual trends. Okay, so 1991, 92 annual plans. Okay. So moreover, the biggest challenge here is this crisis called balance of payment crisis in 1991. Balance of payment crisis in 1991. Huh. I'll talk about it. Operation Blackboard and all, I'll talk about it after some time. Yeah. Okay, let me first come to that. I've seen that. Operation Blackboard, not only Operation Blackboard, but also Jawahar Rozgar Yojana. Few schemes are not needed. Few schemes are not needed. I'll talk about it. Okay, so 1990, what happened is, we landed up in BOP crisis, okay, balance of payment crisis. Now one thing, now this BOP, I will explain what is part of BOP, and I will mention some, it is not done for you, right? Okay, so I will discuss what is BOP, and I'll give some short note on current account, capital account, that's all. Okay, in detail again, it will be discussed in the external sector class. I will explain the different, and whatever I am explaining, that will be on a different color, because I will not dictate detailed notes with respect to balance of payment. This will be dictated in, again, this will be external sector. Otherwise, it will become a BOP class. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay, so that is the only thing. I'll explain the concept. I will explain why we went into crisis and that. And then we will see what, and that is because without that we can't discuss first generation reforms. Without that we can't discuss the second generation reforms. Okay, so here after the BOP crisis, the planning was mainly which 5-year plan? Indicative planning. Which 5-year plan? 8th 5-year plan, 1992 to 1997. 1992 to 1997. First, let me explain this. Okay, then we will see some more facts. Okay. Now, the question is why we were calling it as crisis. Okay, so we said one is the word balance of payment, which is also the financial crisis. And thing is, why are we calling it as crisis? Okay. Okay. So there's a difference between crisis and a difficult situation. What is the difference? Failing in first attempt, difficulty. Failing in 5th attempt, crisis. Yes. Okay, simple as that, you know, very, very simple definition. But crisis means you don't have solution. Crisis means we don't have solution. We landed up in a situation where we did not have forex reserve. Okay, now see here, we did not have forex. No forex. We did not have forex. Okay, forex is under the control of, in India, forex is under the control of RBI, Reserve Bank. First of all, don't worry much about forex. Now this forex, when I use the word forex, okay, most importantly, the major chunk of forex will have, forex will have liquid foreign currency assets, you call it as liquid foreign currency assets. That is, one is we have dollar is there, okay, euro is there, okay, we have pounds, and we also have the Japanese yen. Nowadays China is also saying my currency, okay, but I'm not putting China. Okay, I'll only put these 4 as of now. Are you able to get this? Dollar, euro, pound and yen. Now the next question is, what is the meaning of liquidity? What do you mean by liquid or liquid asset? Liquid asset is something that can be converted easily into cash. Gold versus this building. Which one is more liquid? Gold. Because gold I can easily convert into cash. This building will take some time. I think you're getting my point. Okay. Is this clear? Okay. Similarly, liquid currency means everybody will accept your currency. Liquid currency means what? Everybody will accept your currency. When you're going to Sri Lanka, they will ask for US dollar. They will not say, please give your Indian rupee. Are you able to get this? Because Indian rupee is still not seen as a liquid currency. There are multiple reasons for that. But Indian rupee is not a liquid currency. Since our currency is not liquid, we have to maintain some reserve. Suppose US currency itself is liquid. It need not think much about reserve. Are you able to get this? Since our currency is not not liquid, so I have to maintain some reserve. And this reserve is maintained by whom? RBI. This reserve, forex reserve, is under the control of whom? RBI. That much is clear? That is clear. See, today inflation is increasing. Or did rupee value, what is happening to rupee value today? Depreciating. There is a problem of rupee value depreciation. Okay, rupee value depreciation. This can also be dealt through the forex reserve. Rupee value depreciation can also be handled through forex reserve. We'll talk about it later. Okay, now second thing is one more important entity under the reserve. Today we'll only discuss three entities. A fourth entity we'll discuss in the external sector. One more entity, along with, when I say forex reserve, you have these 4 liquid currencies. Along with these 4 liquid currencies, one more important entity is what? Gold. Gold is also treated as hard currency, or it is also treated as a liquid currency. Liquid, hard or liquid. Is this clear? Why there is so much of demand for gold in India? Why there is so much of demand? There's a lot of demand for gold. Okay. Why there is so much of demand for gold in India? Why? Supply is less. Okay. Universal answer. Supply is less, demand will be more. Okay. Yes. Okay. See, one is tradition. One is tradition, no? Tradition. No gold, no marriages. Okay, so tradition. Richest gods also measured in terms of gold. Tradition. Yes, tradition. Two, see here. Two, even inflation. Why? Whenever inflation is high, inflation is over for us, right? Whenever inflation is high, what will happen to our money value? Money value will decrease. Okay. Today, what is the inflation rate? 7%. If you put your money in the savings bank account, how much they are giving? 5 points they are giving. Which bank, ma? Okay. 5.6, that is basically, not FD, I'm asking about the regular savings. 3.54, right? Okay, inflation is how much? 7. What you are getting interest is how much? 4. Means, are you making profit? No, you are making loss, in fact. That means putting money into the savings account is a wrong financial decision when your inflation is increasing at a rate of more than 7%. Okay. But gold, in spite of there being inflation, the demand for gold generally will not fall. In spite of there being inflation in the economy. Are you able to get this? Okay. And even one more thing what you should understand, whenever your stock markets are not doing well, you will find that gold has even more demand. Stock market, share market, why people may believe that gold is safer. Are you able to get this? Okay. Not only that, more is the black money in the economy. There will be more demand for gold, black money. Why? Whenever a government officer is caught, what you will find? I think you got my point right. Okay, it is either land documents or gold biscuits. Getting my point? More black money, more investment into black assets. Black assets like what? Gold, silver. I think you're getting my point right. Okay, that is also a reason. And also, see here, along with that, if your financial inclusion is not there, Financial inclusion is not there. That means bank accounts are not there. I should walk 10 kilometers, 20 kilometers to put money in the bank. It is better I save in financial, some assets like gold or silver or whatever it is. So banking system is not fully expanded. Then also you will find that people decide, let me buy gold, keep it with me. Okay, so that is also there. Are you able to get this? So these are all some of the reasons why there is, and gold is also part of our what? Forex. Okay, is this clear? Are you able to get this? Okay. Gold is part of our forex. Okay. Now I'm very specific, I'm telling you. I'm not discussing two things here. I will discuss them later. Okay. One more entity is there in forex, which is called as SDR. Okay. Don't worry about it as of now. Okay. SDR. SDR is what? Special drawing rights. Okay. These are issued by a bank called IMF. Okay. Forget about it. And there is something like reserve tranche position, etc. RTP. So these two are also part of forex, but I'm not discussing them as of now. As of now, forget about this. As of now, we're not discussing this. But what is the main chunk of your forex? Major chunk of forex is what? These forex reserves, right? And now by the time of 1990s, how was India's situation? How was India's situation by the time of 1990? This is what we should know. Okay, so observe. India's situation. Now if we talk about, remember fiscal policy. Yesterday mentioned it. Okay, on one side you have revenue and on the other side you have what? Expenditure. Okay. On the revenue side, government was getting very less revenue. When will government get less revenue? Understand this. One is our tax policy is not efficient. No tax collections were coming. We talked about it. Okay. Second is, what about our PSUs? How about our PSUs? PSUs were making profits or loss? If PSUs are making loss, PSUs profits are a source of revenue. PSU profits are a source of revenue. Are you able to get this? When PSUs are making loss, obviously revenues will not increase. Are you able to get this? Revenues will not increase. Okay, so PSUs were also making losses. Your taxing policy was also bad. Okay, and we were not good with respect to, obviously, we were not efficient with respect to what? Exports, etc. We are not contributing to major chunk of exports. So government was not, government or even the private player. So revenues were not coming for India. So revenues were on one side, revenues were less. But on the other side, we were spending a lot of money. Okay, spending a lot of money. Okay, so spending a lot of money, it can be either for what? Subsidy. Everybody knows what is subsidy, right? Okay, subsidy, we were spending a lot of money. We were spending a lot of money on loss-making PSUs. Even the banking sector was not doing well. Even the banking sector during this point of time was not doing well. So what? Banking sector was not doing well. So that means for the government, what was high? Deficits. Deficit for the government was high. Everybody knows what is this? Deficit. For the government during that point of time, deficit is high. Deficit means your expenditure is more than revenue. Are you able to follow? Expenditure is more than revenue. That is, deficits were high. Okay. And this was the period of, also what you should understand is, one more important observation, this was the period of Gulf War. Okay. Gulf War. Okay. Gulf War means one product which will become very costly is what? Oil. Oil started becoming even more costly. So when oil becomes costly, what will happen is obviously our import bill. We import lot of oil. Okay, so you import lot of oil. So import bill was also increasing. Oil is costly, means your import bill is also going to increase. So import is increasing on one side, but we were not maximizing on what? Exports. Exports were not increasing, okay, but imports on one side were increasing. So it will also lead to what? Very high trade deficit. Very high trade deficit. Are you able to get this? Okay, very high trade deficit. So one, for the government, expenditures were more than revenue. That is clear, I believe. There's no confusion there. Okay. 2, for the government, trade deficit was also increasing. Trade deficit. What is trade deficit? We mentioned no earlier. Imports. Imports are more than exports. Imports are more than exports. Is this clear? So on one side, okay. Somebody has written, why don't we print money? Why only US can? No, we can also print money. Wait. Okay. So now here, trade deficit. Everybody has understood trade deficit. Trade deficit means imports more than export. And one of the important reasons for increase in trade deficit is increase in oil costs. Okay, that was also adding up to the trade deficit. Okay. And on the other side, government, there is one more problem here. Another problem which we were facing during that point of time is very high inflation, very high inflation. So 3 things I have mentioned. So what are the 3 things? 1, we said deficit for the government is going to be on a higher side. Okay, if this is going to be high, government borrows a lot of money. So thereby it will increase what for the government? Fiscal deficit. We have discussed this. No, fiscal deficit is nothing but borrowings of the government, number 1. Number 2, for the government, it was also, you can observe that the trade deficit was also increasing on a higher side. So trade deficit means imports are more than exports, very high gap. Third important aspect, what we could see, third important aspect is something like the inflation, Inflation was on a higher side. Along with all this, we could see that our forex reserve was less. It was almost less than $5 billion. $5 billion. That means our forex was so less that we could not manage our trade. You need forex to manage trade because all payments you should make in what? Foreign currency. You can't use rupees, right? So you have to use foreign currency. You should use dollars. So therefore, our forex was so less that we could not manage our trade for more than 15 days. We could not manage our trade for more than 15 days. Are you able to follow? So we landed up in a situation where we could not manage our trade for a period of more than 15 days, and we landed up into a financial crisis, which we started calling it as balance of payment crisis, BOP crisis. Somewhat okay? Yes. 1, government expenditure was more than revenue, or government's fiscal deficit was high. Fiscal deficit, borrowings. 2, very high rates of inflation. Yes. 3, trade deficit was on a higher side. Okay. Inflation was on a higher side. 4, disintegration of USSR. Disintegration of USSR means Russia was in its own problems. Are you able to get this point? So Russia was in its own problems means it was rise of a unipolar world, rise of a single power, and that single power is what? Obviously that single power is US. And US is a capitalist country or a socialist country? Obviously US is a capitalist country. You cannot depend on Russia now, because Russia was in its own problems of unemployment, whatever it is, and therefore now on the other side, if you see the globe, there is rise of unipolar world, that is one single power. Earlier it was a bipolar world. Now one single power, that is US, which promotes capitalism, which promotes market economy, which promotes something called as market economy. Is this clear, everybody? Okay, so these are the things during that point of time. And that point of time we had P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister, and our Mr. Silent, Mr. Silent was, Manmohan Singh was, but he was a very good economist. Manmohan Singh was a very good economist. He was the finance minister, okay? And they had to bring some change. With respect to policy. Now, is this clear? Now, what you observe is there is a sea change. There is a sea change with respect to India before 1991 and India after 1991 with respect to multiple aspects. This is what you should observe first. This is what you should observe. Okay, so make an observation. Make an observation. How was India before 91 and how is India after 1991? See here, before 1991, which sector was contributing to the major chunk of GDP? Agriculture. After 1991, which sector is contributing to the major chunk of GDP? It is services. Services. There's a sea change. Okay. Before 1991, competition was handled by, now listen very carefully, before 1991, competition was easy to handle and competition was handled by which act? Monopolies, Restrictive Trade Practices Act. Is this clear? Before 1991. After 1991, it is, after 1991, competition is handled by Competition Commission of India. Competition Commission of India. This is one observation. Make these observations very proper observations. Before 1991, our growth was not coming from foreign investment. Before 1991, I gave you a mains question yesterday. Okay. Foreign investment is a critical factor for growth, isn't it? But over dependence on that can become even more critical. So now what is observation? Before 1991, our GDP growth was not coming from foreign investment. But after 1991, of course I don't say GDP is coming from only foreign investment, but there was an exponential increase with respect to investments like FDI and FII. This is also a result of what? 1991 reforms. Are you able to get this? Okay, 1991 reforms. So foreign investment was not the main entity that was contributing to growth, but after 1991, yes. Now, India was more of a closed economy. India was more of a closed economy before 1991. Remember what is closed economy? Closed economy means there is no trade. These are the observations which you make. But after 1991, the observation is India is more, not completely, but India is more of an open economy. Are you able to get this? These are some observations. Okay. Which sector was mainly contributing to the economy of the country before 1991? So before, that means before the 8th 5-year plan, before 1990, which sector was contributing to the most of the employment or growth? It was what growth model? It was mainly PSU-led growth. All this is something which you know. Okay, so PSU-led growth. But after 1991, today, we find it is mainly what? Private sector, or government says government has no business to stay in business. Now, government currently statement last year, government has no business to, government has no business. That means government is believing in privatization. Government is believing in privatization. Okay. And before 1991, one more important thing what you will remember. Before 1991, foreign exchange related aspects. Before 1991, anything related to foreign exchange, was handled by an act called FERA. Now FERA, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. FERA is what? Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Before 1990, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act was what? Handling something like whatever issues and problems related to foreign exchange was handled by FERA. But after 1990, it was handled by FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act. This was in 1999-2000. So when I come to this planning part, again, you should understand that all this also has happened part of planning. And a topic of economic reforms, which is given, that is, you have this first generation and second generation reforms. So what you should understand is, before 1991, handling foreign exchange was easy or difficult? Before 1991, handling foreign exchange was easy. Foreign exchange was easy because India was more of a closed economy. So handling foreign exchange was easy before 1991. Okay, and it was mainly FERA, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Now, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act, or FERA, is very strict. FERA is strict. That means any foreign exchange related crime will be treated as a criminal offense. FERA is strict. It will treat any foreign exchange related crime as a criminal offense. But FEMA full form is what? Foreign Exchange, write down Foreign Exchange Management Act. Foreign Exchange Management Act. Foreign Exchange Management Act. Now FEMA is more liberal. Liberal, this is stringent, strict. This is strict. FEMA is liberal. This is the observation which you make before 1990, after 1990. Are you able to get this? No. So FEMA means Foreign Exchange Management Act. Okay, Management Act. FERA is Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Now regulation, the word regulation itself shows that our main focus is to regulate something like the foreign exchange. That means any foreign exchange related crime will be treated as a criminal offense here. It will be treated as something like a civil offense. This is more liberal in nature. FEMA is more liberal. FEMA is more liberal. Why? After 1990, you wanted what? More of foreign investment. You wanted more of foreign investment, so you can't be very strict with respect to foreign investment rules and regulations. Are you able to get this? Okay. Another important aspect, if you observe, handling black money, etc. Handling black money, etc. Before 1991, handling black money was easy. Handling black money was easy. Okay. And after 1990, handling black money is more difficult. Okay. It is difficult. Handling black money is difficult. And black money mainly is handled by these acts. Today, black money is mainly handled by these acts, like one is FEMA is there, Foreign Exchange Management Act, which is handling. And along with FEMA, you also have something like Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Now this you will read in your internal security. Okay, PMLA you call it as. Prevention of Money Laundering Act. See, you should observe the difference between how India was before 1990 and after 1990. And this forms an introduction for most of the question. That 8th 5-year plan forms an introduction for most of the questions. That is why I'm putting this on board. There is a logic for putting this on board is this forms an introduction for most of the questions. For example, over-tertiarization of India leading to jobless growth. Over-tertiarization means more of services sector. Means my introduction comes from which 5-year plan? 8th 5-year plan, or my introduction comes from LPG policy. Are you able to get this? Or if there is a question on handling black money, handling money laundering related questions. Again, my introduction will come up from FERA being replaced with FEMA. FERA being replaced with FEMA. FERA was very strict with respect to handling black money, etc. FEMA is what? More liberal. Are you able to get this? That is why this discussion. Or if there is a question like, see here, very important, if there is a question like, in generally every economy, what will happen? There will be a transition from primary to secondary. That means you will move from agriculture to secondary sector, and then you will move from industry to services sector. General economic shift will be like, you move from primary to secondary, that is manufacturing, from secondary to services. But in India's case, you find an abrupt shift. Abrupt shift means what? You jumped from primary to services, neglecting the manufacturing sector. What is the impact of this on Indian economy? What is the impact of this abrupt shift? No, there's a shift, no. From primary after 1991, we abruptly shift to the services sector. What is the impact of this abrupt shift on the Indian economy? What is the impact? And what measures can really government take to handle or strengthen manufacturing? That itself can be a question. Are you able to get my point? See, what I'm trying to say is, on a regular note, every economy's transition process will generally be from primary to secondary, and then from secondary to tertiary. Whereas India's case, there was an abrupt shift from primary to tertiary. Okay, primary to tertiary. What is the negative impact, or what is the impact of this abrupt shift on Indian economy? And what measures have to be taken by government to strengthen which sector? Secondary sector or Manufacturing sector. Very, very common questions. Very, very common. You find these questions continuously coming in UPSC mains. Are you able to get this? No. That is the reason you should understand the 8th 5-year plan or this link of 1991. I think it is becoming little heavy today. Little heavy, but okay, I'll give you a break after 10 minutes. Is this clear? Okay. You're able to follow? No tension till here? Are you sure? Okay. So, so India before 91, India after 1991, I have put few things on board. Okay. These things I think they are clear. Foreign investment, okay, competition, public sector, handling black money, etc. Now, few things I will write. Now, few things. You will tell me. Before 1991, how was poverty situation? Okay. Handling poverty, it's a welfare issue. Okay. Poverty handling, we were only partially successful. Okay. Okay. So, handling poverty is only a partial success. Partial success. But today, if you see, even today, we are still struggling with respect to handling what? Poverty. Even today, we are struggling with respect to what? Handling poverty. Okay. And similarly, if you observe, similarly, one more challenge, developmental challenge, which you have discussed is this challenge of unemployment. Remember? Okay. So before 1991, also unemployment was an issue. And after 1991, okay, you would have discussed like employment elasticity. Remember? Yes. So what happened to employment elasticity? Employment elasticity after 1991 increased or decreased? Forgot. What? Employment elasticity means change in employment to change in GDP. Change in employment, discuss no? Change in employment in the numerator, change in GDP in the denominator. Isn't it? After 1991, though GDP was increasing, change in GDP was high, but the numerator, that is change in employment, was not increasing. That means our employment elasticity was going down. Are you able to get this? No, this was discussed. No, employment elasticity after 1991 is going down, means it was leading to what? Jobless growth. That means any questions on jobless growth in my mains, my intro again will fall with the 8th 5-year plan or 1991 policy. That is what I mean. That is the importance of the 8th plan. That is the importance of LPG. Clear? Okay, it's becoming heavy. No? Is it okay till here first? Is it okay till here? This, now I want you all to, first thing is, you're not writing anything with respect to the planning part, right? Planning part you will not write because that is the planning facts and all, because that PPT is there. What is there in the first 5, second 5? I already mentioned that we will not write anything there, okay? But I request you to put this in the sheet, okay? That is before 8th plan, that is after the 7th plan, okay? So you'll write, put the heading, India before 1991 and India after 1991. That is the heading I want you all to. So that you will not have any confusion tomorrow that this is not dictated. You will have it in mind, okay? So you put the heading, India before 1991 and India after 1991. That will actually give us India before 1991 and India after 1991. Is that clear? Okay. So there, what we will write is, okay, first point. First point, write down. Agriculture was the main contributor of GDP. Agriculture was the main contributor of GDP. Agriculture was the main contributor of GDP. before 1991, before 1991, but currently, services sector contributes to, but currently, services sector contributes to almost 55% of GDP. Services sector contributes to almost 55% of GDP. Continue. Okay. India's growth was mainly coming from services sector, okay, in bracket, over tertiarization, leading to jobless growth, Okay, that means you'll know tomorrow jobless growth, any question, my intro should come from this, that is the reason. Next point, two. Second point, write down. Foreign investment was not the main contributor. Foreign investment was not the main contributor PDF will be given today. Yeah. Foreign investment was not the main contributor of GDP. Foreign investment was not the main contributor of GDP before 1991. But after implementation of LPG, FDI, we have discussed these words, no? FDI and FI, okay? Okay, basic, FDI and FII have become instrumental in influencing India's growth process. Have become instrumental in influencing India's growth process. Speed is okay? Yeah. So that is, so next point, write down, next point. Okay. From the first 5-year plan, India focused on PSU-led growth model. PSU-led growth model. Though we have adopted principles of mixed economy. Principles of mixed economy. Mixed economy means what? Public plus private. Okay, continue writing. After 1991 reforms, in bracket LPG. LPG is what? Liberalization, privatization. After 1991, private sector became the main contributor. Of economic growth and job creation. Economic growth and job creation. Okay. In the continue. In the 8th 5-year plan, write down. In the 8th 5-year plan, government started focusing on disinvestment policy. I'll explain. Disinvestment policy. Okay, disinvestment policy. And after 2000, government's focus shifted towards strategic disinvestment and privatization. Strategic disinvestment and privatization. Okay. So, one word I will explain here. Is this clear till here? Okay. Strategic disinvestment and privatization. Okay. I think we'll complete this and then I will explain. You leave some space there. Leave some space. Again will, otherwise that continuity will go. Leave some space, continue writing. Okay. So there 2 points you'll write. Disinvestment. Write down. I'll explain later. Disinvestment, put the heading disinvestment. Okay. Disinvestment. Government selling its shares. Government selling its shares. Disinvestment. Government selling its shares with the primary intention of earning revenue. Okay. So if you know, today LIC has gone ahead with IPO, initial public offering. That means LIC is able to raise money from the market. Okay. So disinvestment's primary logic is what? Earning what? Revenue. Okay. But if you sell more than, if you disinvest more than 50, if you disinvest what? More than 50, what will happen is, if you want to be a owner of a company, you need to have how much? You need to have a stake of how much? 51%, right? If you sell more than 50, there will be what? Change of ownership. Just continue. Okay. Just continue. In bracket, right? There only in bracket, right? This is what? Minority stake sale. In bracket, right? Minority stake sale. Okay. Minority stake sale. Now, minority stake sale means what? In a government company, listen, in a government company, why I am disinvesting some disinvestment. What is this disinvestment? Just try to understand first, let's try to understand it this way. Okay. So, whenever you want to raise money from the market, listen very carefully. Don't write anything. Whenever a company wants to raise, any company wants to raise money from the market, now this company has two options. Okay. One is, the option is debt. Debt means what? You are taking loan. Any company. Another important way to raise money from the market is what? Share. Okay. Now listen to this before we go for a break. Okay. What is this debt? Debt means loan. That means, forget about government. Let's talk about anybody. We also want to raise money, or company wants to raise money. So debt can be something like, you will go and ask your parents and family. First time they will give. Okay. 2 is friends or somebody you'll ask. Okay, so they may or may not give. 3 is you have something like banks. Go and ask. You go to a bank and you go and ask. 4 is you have something like wait. Now, I am interested in this word here. Okay. This 4 is something like bonds. I have written bond in this aspect of debt. Debt. Okay. So that means bond is also related to something like a debt. Okay. I'll come to that. I'll come to that. Or share. Share means what if I am buying even a single share in a company. Let's say there is a company TCS. If I am buying even one share of TCS also, it means I am part of the ownership of the company. There's a difference. I am part of the ownership. I am part of the ownership means I am, whatever profits the company makes, I should benefit from the profits. If the company makes losses, I also have to bear the losses because you are part of the ownership of the company. Are you able to get this point? No? You're part of the ownership of the company. There's a difference. There's a difference here. Loan does not guarantee any ownership here. Okay, somebody is giving you loan. You want to start a company. That fellow is giving you loan. He need not be part of the ownership. Okay, but I want to start a company and somebody is asking for share in my company. Somebody is asking for share in my company means he wants to become part of the ownership. You have seen Shark Tank? Shark Tank, if you see, these investors will be sitting nicely enjoying and somebody will come up with an idea. Okay, and the poor farmer, somebody will come with, this is my idea. And they will say, I'll give you 1 crore provided you give me some 30% share in your company. That means what they are asking, they are not giving you debt. They are giving you what? They are asking for share in your company. They are saying, give me 30% of your company. 30% of your company. I will give you how much? 1 crore. I will give you 1 crore. Okay, that means tomorrow in your profits, I will have a share. In your loss, I will bear the loss. And also I'll help you to run your company. This is how they will convince in the Shark Tank if you see. Okay. Now, this is understood, right? Share. So share, I also use the word here, equity. I also use equity, share. Okay. Equity. Are you able to get this? Now, if I want to be a owner of company, I need to have something like at least how much stake? 51%. If this TCS has 100% stake, in this 100%, if I want to be called as owner, I should have how much? 51% share in the company. If this 51% is with government, it is a government entity. If this 51% is with private, it is a private entity. So LIC tomorrow, if it is going to sell off more than 51, government is selling off more than 50, that means LIC is no more going to be a government entity. That is why some students are worried who are working in LIC. They say, tomorrow what if LIC is going to be privatized, sir? Okay, IPOs, they are issuing some shares, but what if? So why that guarantee, that security will go if LIC is pushing off 51%? 51%. Are you able to get this? No. So whether you are a government or a private entity will be decided based on your ownership. If 51% ownership is with government, you call it as a government entity. If 51% is with the private, you call it as private entity. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay. So here, shares when they are issued, listen very carefully. Okay. The company which is there, like LIC can issue shares. Okay, this LIC, if it is issuing shares for the first time, now LIC for the first time it issued shares, never ever earlier it issued shares. LIC never ever issued shares. For the first time, whenever a company is issuing shares, means how will I buy those shares? If we all have to buy those shares, we have to buy it from whom? From LIC straight. We have to buy it from the company itself. Are you able to get this point? If you are buying something directly from the company itself, you are calling it as primary market. Now listen very carefully. That means I am buying shares directly from whom? LIC. We all have purchased shares from LIC. But after you have purchased, at a later date, you want to sell it to somebody. So if you want to sell it to somebody, you will use what? You are going to use which market? You will use the stock market, you will use the share market, and you will sell it to somebody else. Are you able to get this? Okay, so one is primary market. Primary market means you are buying shares directly from the company itself. Directly from the company. Example, LIC's IPO. IPO, LIC's IPO. IPO is what? Initial public offering. LIC's IPO. That means LIC is issuing shares to the public for the first time. It's going public means everybody, anyone can put their money. Are you able to get this? That is what is public. So LIC is going and issuing shares for the first time. First time it is doing this. That is why I use the word what? Initial public offering. Initial public offering. I think you got my point, right? Now why is LIC doing this? To earn what? It needs capital. It needs money. LIC raises money through this activity. Are you able to get this? Okay, but after we all have purchased these shares, we can sell these shares in the stock market. We can sell these shares in the stock market, so that you can also call it as the secondary market. Secondary market means you want to sell it to me. You want to sell it to me. How do you sell it? Basically, you use the stock market, you use the share market, and that is how you sell it to me. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay. Now, it is for LIC. Similarly, if government companies are there, if government, suppose there is government company, now let's say you have, let's say this company called BHEL. Okay, now government entity, it also wants to dilute its ownership. Dilute, like LIC. It wants to dilute its ownership and issue shares. Why? With the intention of what? Raising revenue. So what is government company doing? Government company is going ahead with what? Disinvestment, opposite of investment. It is trying to sell away its asset. It is trying to sell away its share. Okay. So minority stake sale means this government entity is selling away some 5% or 10%, something like 5, 10%, 15%, small amount of share. And why is it disinvesting? It is selling away its stake because the government wants to earn what? Government primary intention here is what? To earn what? Revenue. Government's intention is what? To earn revenue. Are you able to get this? Now, during the 8th 5-year plan, why were we thinking of disinvestment is the question. During the 8th 5-year plan, that is between 1992 to 1997, why are we thinking about disinvestment is the question. For what we wanted? We need investment, okay. PSU more efficient, okay. Actually, our PSUs we should not disinvest. We should have, there was something like, most of the PSUs were ready for closure. But in India, it is very difficult to close. For example, Air India is a pride. Air India was a pride, no? Air India was a pride. We took so much of time for Air India, and that too we handed over it to somebody who is again, who can resemble India. Tata. Are you able to get my point? No. So, therefore you started pushing a lot of money. Government lost a lot of money because of Air India. Workers, happiness. Okay. So, I think you're getting my point, right? Yes, somebody here. Okay. Okay. So here, of course, what he says is, deficit is high. And whenever we are in financial crisis, no? Now, for example, Sri Lanka is financial crisis. Sri Lanka went to which bank? IMF. There is a bank. IMF is a bank. No, whenever there is financial crisis, you go and fall on the feet. I use this word, don't take it serious. Fall on the feet of these banks like IMF and World Bank, which are almost equal to US. You are falling on the feet of IMF means you are falling on the feet of US. As good as that. Nothing more. Nothing more, nothing less. Now IMF never gives loans just like that. IMF will give conditional loans. Condition, do this, then I will give you loan. IMF is like our parents. Okay, so सक्सेस ला लो, मार्क्स ला लो, तो बाद में देखेंगे, आपको गाड़ी दिला देंगे. So this is IMF also does the same thing. IMF says, you do this, because I'm giving you loan. Why? Because IMF, whenever it is giving loans, it will not keep any collateral security. collateral security. Okay, generally. So IMF gives conditional loans to all its member countries. Whom? To all its member countries. Only member countries can borrow. From whom? IMF. Mainly when there is what? Financial crisis. So obviously, India also, when it is in financial crisis, we would have asked IMF, paise, please, that $2 we want. They'll say, we will help you, provided you follow certain standards. And one certain standard is you reduce your one. I'll discuss that in your reforms. Anyhow, that we have to write also. Deficits. Deficit. Got the point? No. Government focus on reducing your borrowing. Don't even borrow from your RBI. Don't mint money just like that whenever you want and take money. Are you able to get this now? That will increase inflation. Mint, mint, mint. Okay, so that can create problem. Are you able to get my point? Okay, so here, reduce FD. How can you reduce FD? First of all, if you want to reduce FD, first you should reduce this gap which is there. Revenues and expenditure is there. Okay, this gap you should decrease. This gap. That means in the 8th 5-year plan, government obviously has to focus on reducing what? Reducing the expenditure, spending. You can't spend as you like now. You can't spend as you like. That is the reason in the 8th 5-year plan, social sector spending got affected. Social sector spending, that means spending on basic needs kind of thing, got affected. Why? Because you have to adhere to IMF, you have to maintain this balance. So one aspect is either you have to increase what? You have to increase your R, revenue, incoming money, revenue increase, or you also have to focus on what? Decreasing what? Expenditure. How do you increase revenue? That means to increase revenue, you have to have very good what policy? You should also have very good, that is the reason in the 8th 5-year plan, you will find something like government coming up with something like what reforms? Tax reforms in the 8th 5-year plan. Government comes up with tax reforms. Why tax reforms? Because without proper tax reforms, you cannot increase revenue. Are you able to get my point? Is this clear? Moreover, government is selling off its shares. Means it will also increase what? It will also increase the R of the government, revenue. It's government's assets. No, government is disinvesting. Means government is selling off its shares to earn something called as revenue. Are you able to get this? So that is also a reason. That is also a reason for what? Disinvestment. So in the 8th plan, the focus was on disinvestment. Understood what is the word disinvestment? Why there was a focus on disinvestment? I think you have understood why there was a focus on disinvestment. Clear? And what is disinvestment, right? Okay. And if you disinvest more than 51, it turns out to become privatization. Okay. If you disinvest, continue there, only one point there. If disinvestment crosses 51, if disinvestment crosses 51%, there will be change of ownership. Leading to privatization. Okay. Yeah. You can take a break. Yes. Clear. Okay. So the word disinvestment is clear. And you've written disinvestment after which point? Right. Okay. Next point. Okay. Rupee value. Okay. I'll take up the doubts after 10 minutes. Let me complete this. Okay. Any doubts? I'll take up after 10 minutes. Yeah. Write down. Before 1991, foreign exchange related aspects were regulated by an act called FERA. FERA, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Okay, continue. FERA was stringent. FERA was stringent. That is, foreign exchange related crimes were treated as, foreign exchange related crimes were treated as criminal offense. Full stop. After 1991, FERA was replaced by FEMA. After 1991, FERA was replaced by FEMA. Foreign Exchange Management Act. In bracket, write 1999-2000. 1999-2000. FEMA is more liberal. FEMA is more liberal in comparison to FERA. FEMA is more liberal in comparison to FERA. Okay. Currently, black money, full stop and continue. Currently, black money is handled by. FEMA and PMLA. Prevention of Money Laundering Act. See, PMLA you will discuss in internal security. There is a chapter called money laundering there. You will discuss there in detail. But I think things are clear. Okay. Next point. Write down. Okay. Next point. Developmental aspects like poverty elevation, ALL, poverty elevation, comma, unemployment, could not recover even after LPG reforms. Example, employment elasticity reduced after 1991 reforms. Employment elasticity reduced after 1991 reforms, indicating jobless growth. Okay, so I have made you write these points. Of course, in the foreign exchange class you will discuss, but my logic is, my intention is basically to make you get that introductions right. Are you able to get this? You have understood, no? Words are clear. There is no tension here. 8th 5-year plan. Is this clear? Okay, now. Using earned revenue into building these PSUs more competitive, either pass. See, there is a question. I'll read out the question. Disinvestment will lead to earning of revenue, but is this revenue generation model sustainable? Okay. Should government not think of either using the earned revenue into building these PSUs more competitive, or either partial privatization of these so that they become self-sustaining? As this investment is up to a limit and one cannot keep on selling at stakes. Okay. See, here the question is, first of all, disinvestment money should not be used for welfare. First thing, disinvestment money should not be used for welfare. First thing, why? It is as good as I am selling my house or asset and filling daily petrol in my bike. Every day. Okay, sold my house, I got now money. Now every day I will sit, enjoy, fill petrol in the bike, pay rent. Now this is what is like, you're selling off your assets, you got some money, and you're using it for welfare, which is a blunder. That means disinvestment proceeds should not be used. Ideally, disinvestment proceeds. That means you disinvested, you got money, that should be reinvested back into the company. That should be reinvested. It should lead to capital formation. Or the government company should invest into bringing in new machines, new technology with this money. Government cannot use that revenue for giving subsidies. Government should not be using that money for MGNREGS. At least MGNREGS, in India, okay, so Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Okay, what is the intention of MGNREGS? Can anybody tell me? Everybody says 100 days of employment, right? To all rural households. It is not just 100 days of employment. 100 days of employment does not mean come, dig the well, 50 days. Come on now, fill the well. 50 days, 100 days of employment done. Okay, not like that. Actually, MGNREGS also should lead to creation of assets. You should use that irrigation projects, building schools, building water tanks. But what happens in reality is it really leading to creation of assets? Are you able to get my point? So, disinvestment is not a wrong policy. Disinvestment is definitely not a wrong policy. Disinvestment is sustainable, provided you use that money ideally for putting it back into the company, modernizing the company, getting new technology in the company. But if government is getting this revenue, now government decides, let me sell, let me use this money for welfare, let me use this money for bridging my FD, gap is there between revenue and expenditure, let me bridge FD so that I can show less fiscal deficit. These are negatives. But yes, disinvestment is okay. Second thing, even FD is not bad. First thing, FD is what government is borrowing. If this borrowing is going into capital, that is, you're building infrastructure, you're building assets, then even that FD is not bad. But if you're borrowing during COVID, government had to borrow. But what for what? If it is going for welfare, welfare means returns will not come. You're losing your assets. Your assets are dying, but returns are not going to come. That is risky. Okay. This is the second thing. Third, now the question is this method self-sustaining and one cannot keep on selling? The question is, present government strategy is what? It is not even disinvestment. Present government strategy is what? Aggressive privatization. Aggressive privatization. If COVID wouldn't have been there, I think the privatization agenda would have been moved forward. Even profit-making PSUs, government believes to privatize. Government is not interested in doing business. It wants to bring pure market fundamentals. That is the understanding. Tomorrow, you will find profit-making PSUs. I know that IOCL earlier, suppose when in BHL also, there were a lot of provisions given earlier. A lot of provisions. Provisions means when you go somewhere, for buying specs also they used to give loan. For buying sofa also there is loan. Okay, for everything there is loan. You can change your car with loan. Like this, all provisions were there. One by one, they started removing. Okay. Then slowly I decided, let's become investment banker. Okay. So the thing is, now what is the situation? IOCL is a profit-making PSU, but you'll find even in IOCL, wherever you go, there used to be a guest house. Wherever you go. Now you don't have a. Slowly they'll say, देखो क्या है, spend properly, no? Okay. Spend properly. Fiscal prudence. Fiscal prudence. Good or bad? Definitely good. Definitely good. Privatization will bring in efficiency. Definitely it will bring in efficiency. But, now there is a question here. There's a but. What is that? China and India policy. China, what China does? China says, these are my sectors. I will never privatize. For China, ends are important. Ends are important. In between, people die, we don't care. Means to end, not important. Ends are important. We have fixed our goal and our concentration is on the final goal. That's why China hits the bullseye. Hits the bullseye. And China never disinvests or privatizes those companies which it decided, yes, this will never be touched. India, whenever you want money, we may change our stand. You want money because COVID is there is some trouble. No, you say, then you said this should not be privatized, this sector. Then you may decide, no, let me privatize, I want money. You're shifting your policy a little. Are you able to get this? You're shifting. There is a problem. There is a challenge between India and China. But otherwise, privatizing is fine. But in India, even today, trickle down has failed. Many people are dependent on PSUs who are, what I can say, they may not be contributing too much, but they belong to the lower sections. So when you go ahead with adamant privatization at a faster pace, without putting precautions in place, then there will be challenges of inclusive growth. There will be challenges of inclusive growth. I think you're getting my point. No, that is how. You need a middle path. You need a middle path. But disinvestment, you can't say disinvestment is wrong. I'm disinvesting too, but disinvestment money, if you're not using effectively in terms of creation of assets, then disinvestment is wrong. I think you got my point. Is privatization wrong? Nobody told privatization is wrong, but aggressive privatization after pandemic, when people are struggling, you need to focus on people's welfare also to some extent, and there comes that middle path. Maybe the government should be thinking about. I think you got my point, right? So that is the and there's a difference between Chinese and Indian policy. China's policy is little different from India's policy in terms of fixing the target, and they stick to the target. They don't change their mind every now and then. India says, okay, we want revenue, chalo, nikalo, profit making PSUs ko bhi. Thoda strategic disinvestment, and more than 49% will sell. Will earn because you want money suddenly. You want money suddenly. I think you're getting my logic. I think that is, I think the question is addressed. Okay, so there's one more question there, I think. Rupee value is sliding against dollar. Is it good for our country? Okay. Now this is, rupee value sliding means what? Rupee value is depreciating. Rupee value is depreciating. Is it good for India? Good or bad? That is the question, I think. That is what they mean. Okay. So, and, is that clear? Okay, now question is clear. No. See, I'll not discuss good, bad here. First of all, you tell me, if rupee value is sliding, which sectors will benefit in India? Are there any sectors which can benefit in India? First of all, you will get more IT jobs. For example, for him, if he's paying $1, 80 rupees. Okay, so easy to pay salaries. Don't you think so? Okay, for the foreign company, easy to pay salaries. Yes. Okay, so MNCs can give you better jobs if $1 becomes 100 to some extent. Getting my point? Your salaries are something like 70,000, 60,000. For him, $1 is 100. So probably more IT jobs. There is scope. Yes, okay, agreed. Then, if rupee value falls, exports should become what? Exports should become what? Cheap. And probably IT exports. India is good with respect to software exports. Our IT exports will become more competitive in the international market. That is a positive side. There is a positive side. But what about aviation? Aviation sector. Aviation sector positive or negative? Aviation sector negative. Why? Your aviation turbine fuel is there. Aviation turbine fuel, you import oil, you import, see in the recent today's 7th governing council meeting of Niti Aayog, okay, they were also discussing on palm oil imports. Palm oil, you're importing so much, too much of dependence on palm oil, you're importing so much. Okay, so you have to figure out a mechanism where you reduce your dependence on imported vegetable oils also. Are you able to get my point? Okay, that will increase the burden because it is going to become costly. Rupee value is falling. Your oil imports are becoming costly, including the vegetable oil, is adding on to the burden of the trade deficit. Trade deficit, import is increasing. Are you able to get this point? Okay, so this will also become costly. Flight tickets will become costly. And you know Indian consumers, price sensitive, immediately train. Immediately they'll shift. They will shift. So aviation sector may make losses. Aviation sector may make losses. All those companies which are using oil as raw materials, all those companies which are using oil as raw material, oil as input, what will happen to their cost of production? Their cost of production is going to increase. Oil is your raw material, your cost of production will increase, you will become less competitive in the international market. You will become less competitive in the international market. Are you able to get my point? Okay, so oil as raw material, your cost of production is going to increase. Your cost of production means you're inefficient, you can't increase your exports, that means there is a challenge of rupee value fall. Are you able to get this? Understood? No. And what about how about manufacturing? India's manufacturing. How do you look at India's manufacturing now? See, if we talk about India's manufacturing, don't think our manufacturing exports will increase because your rupee value went down. You're not so great in manufacturing exports, number one. Number two, most of our manufacturing companies, they use something called as imported raw materials. We use what? Imported raw material. Imported raw material, are you able to get this? So that means imported raw material means your import cost will rise. That means your manufacturing cost of production will increase. That means this will also lead to this inflation. What inflation? It will lead to cost push inflation. Cost push inflation. And manufacturing costs are rising means your exports also you cannot be competitive. Okay, so like this if you see, so there will be positive, there is negative. So that is the reason you need a middle path when it comes to, yes. And understood, I think. And they said stock market affects market or GDP. See, that we will teach. Stock market has an effect on GDP. Stock market has an effect on market. Till here, is it clear? Okay. So, clear, no? Yes. Then let me show you the 8th plan first, and then I'll discuss the BOP. You have understood 1991, before 91 and after 1991. Yeah. Why it's... What is the problem? Oh. ठीक है. Now this is like first generation, second generation reforms will come. Again, economic reforms is our topic. There I have to explain first generation, dictate first generation, explain second generation, dictate second generation. Okay, all this is here only. Okay, now first of all what you should know is, this is the 8th plan. What was the targeted growth? 5.6, achieved 6.8. That means with respect to growth, earlier economic growth, before 1991, mainly Hindu rate of growth, before 1990, after 1990, we have crossed the Hindu rate of growth. You see that we have crossed the Hindu rate of growth after 1990. That is something which you should know. And we have achieved that target also. Okay, so we have achieved this 6.8, you can observe. Okay, now here the most important, when we were in crisis, when we were in crisis, we came up with this policy of liberalization, globalization. Okay, liberalization, privatization and globalization, which is called as LPG. Okay, okay. Then we came up with certain reforms which are called as structural reforms. Structural reforms which were adopted. This again, I need some time. Give me some time, I'll explain and then we will dictate. Structural reforms will include all the reforms which we implemented, everything that is there in the syllabus. Okay, that means structural reforms are there with respect to industry. Okay, industry. Okay, with respect to the currency related aspect, there is structural reforms. With respect to banking, financial sector reforms. Okay, like this. Fiscal reforms means with respect to government policy. All these are part of what? What reforms now? Structural reforms which we implemented during the 8th 5-year plan. I'll come to that slowly when I'm discussing the first generation reforms. Now next is, we've shifted from imperative to indicative. Imperative to indicative. And one more observation is, our social spending was a little neglected. Social spending. Okay, so in UPSC, there was a mains question that was asked, why budget making process by the government became difficult. Budget making process by the government became difficult or challenging after the 1991 economic policy. After 1991 economic policy, why budget making program, budget making, government is framing the budget, that has become challenging or difficult. Why it becomes challenging is, because on one side, you have to adhere to what IMF has said. That means you have to keep your deficits under control. You have to reduce your trade deficits on one side. And on the other side, you also have to focus on infrastructure spending. Infrastructure, because without infrastructure, foreign investors who are coming in. 1992, we started allowing FIIs, FDIs, opened up our market. So foreign investors will not come into India, okay, if you don't have infrastructure. That means you also have to spend on what? Infrastructure. Along with that, whenever you come up with LPG-like reforms, means market economy, inequalities will increase. Are you able to get my point? Inequalities will increase. No, because this is capitalism, this is market. Inequalities will increase. So to reduce inequalities, you also have to ensure some governance reforms. Governance, you also have to take care of all these decentralization programs. You said 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment. We came up with midday meal scheme. Heard of midday meal schemes? 1995. We came up with ration shops targeted public distribution system. Ration shop concept 1997. 1997. We were trying to identify BPL families separately, APL families separately. When we were also talking about identifying people who are poorer than BPL families. Identifying people poorer than BPL is Antyodaya Anna Yojana. Okay, Antyodaya Anna Yojana is something like you're targeting BPL, people poorer than BPL. That means on one side, welfare. So on the other side, infrastructure. On the other side, adhering to the norms of foreign or colonial master. Colonial masters like IMF, World Bank. That is why whenever government was framing its budget making has become a challenge during 1990. That was the main question, of course. Okay, I think you're getting this right. Okay, so social sector spending also decreased during, and now you will find during this point of time there is improvement in trade and one more deficit here. You will find trade and what deficit? Trade and current account deficit. Trade and current account deficit. Okay, now obviously I will explain the term BOP and current account deficit. Basic understanding of these, and then again in the Forex class you will write a detailed notes. Here my dictation will be very limited. Okay, to make you understand what happened, that's all. Is this clear? Understood? Okay, so the next understanding is here. Everything got minimized. There is a lag. By the time the lag goes, there is one question on board. Let me take that. Okay, why boom in economy is dangerous? Handling black money is easier before 1991. Why harder? Okay. Boom in economy is not dangerous. Okay. Boom in economy is not dangerous, but boom in economy is okay, but it will lead to something like you will have gaps. Okay. I'll answer that. It is testing my BP. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Adding new page will solve the problem. Might. I'll not take might. Okay, it should. Then only change the page. Otherwise, I want to show you, no, what has happened, and I'm moving forward. No, again. Yeah. Huh? No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll try. Okay. Yeah. Again, time. Yeah. Till here, is it clear now? Okay. Now I'll take that question after 5-10 minutes. Okay. Today, I may not take your questions after 12 o'clock because I have a class at 1. Okay, daily I'm taking, so today, no way, no chance. Huh? Okay, beforehand I'm telling you, so that, yeah, don't, so next class I will take. Okay, so now here, this is basically about the BOP. Now it's okay. Yeah. BOP, yes. BOP is balance of payment. Okay. So how do you understand this is? It is external transaction of India with rest of the world. I'll keep it as simple as possible. It is external transaction of India with rest of the world. Later I will dictate. Now don't worry about the dictation. Just concentrate on the concept. External transaction of India with rest of the world. Okay, that means when India is transacting with rest of the world, it has to transact in dollars or in foreign currency. It will not do the transactions in rupees. Okay, it will not do the transactions in rupees. Okay, and in this BOP account, you have two sub accounts. One, we call it as the current account. Okay, and two, we call it as the capital account. Today our discussion will be with respect to current. I think max I will complete this. Okay, so one is called as the current, and two, we call it as the capital account. Okay. Okay. Current means something like day to day, short term, etc. Okay. Now, in this current account, there are some sub accounts. That means one, listen very carefully. One, you have something called as trade. And trade means here I am only talking about merchandise trade, or I am only talking about goods. No services here. Trade. Okay. Two, I am talking about something called as remittances. I'll call it as private remittances. That means my brother, my sister, or my friends staying abroad who are sending money to their families. Are you able to get this? You ask, no, $1 is 80. How is it beneficial? So I'll ask my brother to send money when $1 is 80 or $1 is 70. I'll ask him, wait, let it become 85. Okay, and please send money only when $1 becomes 85 or 90. That means what? As my currency value depreciates, there is more scope for remittance inflow. Are you able to get my point? Okay, now one more challenge is, whenever oil producing countries are not doing well, Muslim nations are not happy, means automatically remittances will fall. Why? Because we get maximum remittances from Gulf countries. India ranks 1 with respect to remittance. Indians are very good, first of all. Wherever they go, they will not forget their families. they will send as much as possible. Are you able to get this? We rank 1 with respect to what? Remittance inflow. I think you're getting my point, right? Okay. Now, when we talk about trade, trade has two things. Trade has two things. See, somebody was asking, sir, shall I write what you're writing on board? Okay. Always with a different color. If you write, it is good only. If the speed is okay, if you're able to write. You know, you have the videos. Videos are there, right? Okay, but still, it is better you put it. You put it. I don't know that India before 1991, after 1991. That was one question, I think, there. Okay, so when we talk about trade, trade has what? Two things. Remember, one is what? One, we have what? Imports. And two, we have what? Exports. Is this okay? So, India's case, generally what we find that our imports are more than exports. And this we were calling it as also what deficit? We were calling it as something like trade deficit. So, in this BOP also, in this current account also, you see incoming and outgoing. Incoming and outgoing. So, remittances, if you see, are incoming or inflow today our inflow is more. Obviously, more Indians are working and sending money. And this will be more than obviously the outflow. Is it clear, everybody? Inflow, outflow. Our incoming money will be more. That means we are positive here today. Today we are positive. Are you able to get this? Here, generally we are negative. Here we are negative means what? Less is moving in, more is moving out. Export means what? Incoming dollar. Export means incoming dollar. Import means what? Outgoing dollar. Outgoing dollar. Are you able to get this? Outgoing dollar. So here we are negative because more imports are there, more outgoing dollars. So dollars are moving out of the country. Is this okay, everybody? Are you able to follow this? Okay. So this trade deficit, everybody knows. Remittances, we are what? Positive. Remittances. Why? Inflow. First of all, you will not have foreigners working, sending money. We only don't have jobs here. Okay, so they coming, working, sending money. Don't think in those lines. You have more Indians working abroad, sending money to their families. I think you're getting this. Okay, remittances. Then third important aspect, we have something called as the services. Services. I am only talking about current. I am not into discussion on capital as of now. So let me remove this. Okay. So we are discussing which account here? Current account. Okay, current account. Okay. So now observe services. Services also. Now here also services. We have exports. Export of service sectors. And we also have what? Imports. Imports. Okay. Generally we find India is okay with respect to its exports. Exports more than imports means generally we are positive. But go to 1990. Go to 1990 when we were in financial crisis. That time, what about trade? We had trade deficit. Why trade deficit? Oil costly, food imports, all that we were importing. But exports, who will buy our exports? Tell me. Okay, during that point of time. Okay, so moreover, Gulf War means what? Oil was becoming even more costly. Import becoming even more costly means our trade deficit was increasing. Trade deficit was increasing. Is this clear? Understood. That point of time. In 1990, remittance was also less. How many Indians would have gone abroad sending money to their family? Think in that line. Okay, today you have this fascination like going abroad, sending money, all that. Okay, now that point of time, 1960, 70, 80, think remittance inflow was also limited. Remittance inflow was also limited. And moreover, government used to regulate. Government used to regulate these things. Regulation of government was also there. Today, government will not regulate trade and government will not regulate how much remittances will come and things like that. But in 70s, even these things were also regulated by government. Okay, services is something like today we are positive, but imagine in 1990, we did not have service sector only. If you see most of the private banks also, the new private banks, okay, which have changed the face of banking system in India, like the ICICI banks and all have come after 1990. ICICI Bank has reduced the respect for the bank officer. Yeah. Reduce the respect for bank officer. Why? Because you started falling behind customers now. Okay, so this is something like, but this was not there before 1990. Service sector, IT and IT enabled services also increased when? After 1990. Imagine 1990, even this, you're not great. Are you able to get this? And then 4, you have something called as income. Income. Okay, income. Okay. All these. Now somebody is sending a grant. And what is the basic difference between a grant and a loan? Very good, fantastic. Wait. Yes. I have not understood anything. Yes. Okay. Okay. Loan has to be paid back. Grant is one-sided transfer. I am getting money from there to here. I will not pay it back. Zero interest loan is also loan. Zero interest loan. For example, Bajaj Finance says you buy a AC, zero interest loan. But it is not grant. I have to pay the principal amount. Are you able to get my point? Grant means you need not pay it back. For example, if Melinda Gates Foundation is giving some money as grant so that the Delhi government can handle something like COVID, it's a grant. Grant means this money, the Delhi government will not pay it back. Are you able to get this point? This money, it will not pay it back. Grant and loan. Grant or one-sided transfer. Transfer, this is a transfer. Transfer means what? From one entity, it is going to the another entity. Remittance is also something like a transfer only. Your brother is sending money. In return, what are you giving? Thank you. You are not delivering any good nor service. You are only saying thank you. Chalo, aur bhi jao. Okay, now that's all we are doing. No, but in return, if you are doing something, in return, if good is produced, service is generated, that is different. Otherwise, it is only one-sided transfer. One-sided transfer. All these one-sided transfers, one-sided grant will be part of what? Which account? Current account. Current account. Okay. So loan will not come here. Loan will be part of capital. Loan will be part of capital. I'll discuss in the tomorrow's class. Loan will be part of capital. Grant will be part of current. Okay. Till here is it clear? Right. Now then comes income. Income is different from investment. You invest in bonds. You invest in shares. If you invest in shares, what you will receive? Okay. If you invest in shares, okay. I'll ask you the other way around. If you invest in shares, the company will give you something called as dividends. Dividends. When will they give? Whenever they feel like giving. Whenever they get profits, okay, whenever they feel like giving, they will give you what? Dividends. Dividends. When you buy. It is what? It is a kind of income. It is a kind of income on investment. It is a kind of income on investment. Similarly, if you are buying some bonds, forget about what is a bond. Tomorrow's class we will see. You are buying some bond. You will get what? You will get something called as interest. You buy bond for interest. It is also a kind of what? Income. Are you able to get this? Okay. So, or tomorrow somebody is buying some assets. Government has purchased some assets outside India, on which it is receiving some income. It is receiving some income. That is what? Income. Are you able to get this? So here what you observe, income also has incoming money. Okay. And you also have what? Outgoing. Foreign entities also would have invested in India. Foreign entities would have invested in India. They are also earning some income which they will send it back to their country. Are you able to follow? Okay. You would have discussed something like net factor income from abroad in your national income, right? So factor income from net, there is a net, no? Okay, very good. So now here in this case, this income is something like somebody has invested outside and he is getting some income on this. It can be government also. Okay, similarly, they would have invested here. There is outgoing money. They are receiving some income. Now, income we are slightly negative. Generally. We are slightly negative. Negative means what? There is more outgoing than incoming. There is more outgoing than incoming. Everybody has understood this. When I am using the word current account in my BOP, it is not just trade. Trade is a subset. No, current account is a larger circle. In that current account, you have something called as a trade account. Are you able to get this point? Trade is a subset of current account. Everybody's understood this? Okay. But if I tally this completely, all this completely, okay. So trade, remittances, services, income, okay. If I land up with more money moving out, that means, for example, I'll say, let's just take an example. This is minus $500 trade. Trade is minus 500. Only an example. Remittances is, let's say, plus $100, plus 100. Exports is also plus 100, plus $100. Just an example. Okay, and this is minus $50. Minus $50. Okay, so how much now? How much? Tell me. Minus 350. Now minus here, you're arriving at minus. Okay, this minus is nothing but what? Minus is nothing but what? Deficit. Deficit. This deficit is in which account? Current account. This deficit is with respect to what? Current account. And therefore, I call this deficit as what deficit? Current account deficit. I call this deficit as what? Current account deficit. Now, the main reason for current account deficit is which deficit? Trade deficit. Why there is this current account deficit? Main reason for current account deficit is this deficit called trade deficit. This deficit called trade deficit is the main reason for current account deficit. Tomorrow we have class, no? No. Day after tomorrow. Okay. Okay, leave it. Leave it. Okay. Okay. Trade deficit is leading to what? Current account deficit. Okay, now, listen. 1991, our current account deficit is higher. Why? Obviously, this is high, trade deficit, higher trade deficits, remittances, nothing is there, not much. And moreover, services sector itself is not developed, and income, forget about investment and getting income. That means our current account deficit was pushing up because of trade deficit. Are you able to get this? Now the question comes up, listen very carefully if you have understood what is this. Now the question comes up, if this current account deficit is increasing, this is increasing, suppose. Okay, this is increasing. Deficit is increasing means what? Minus 350 is becoming minus 1000. Just an example. Minus 350 became minus 1000 means what? More dollars have moved out of India. More dollars have moved out of India. Is that okay? Okay. Now, when more dollars are moving out of India, what will happen to dollar supply in India? There will be less dollars in India. Dollar supply will be less. Are you able to get this? Dollar supply will be less. No. More dollars have moved out. Less dollars are there in India. If less dollars are there in India, what will happen to demand for dollar? Demand for dollar will be increased. More. Availability is not there. So demand is more. If demand for dollar is more, I will pay less rupees to buy the dollar or more rupees to buy the dollar. So you will decide in the market, you have to pay more rupees. In the market, you have to pay more rupees to buy the dollar. Are you able to get this? More rupees to buy the dollar. $1 is 79. Now $1 may become something like $1 may become tomorrow, because you are paying more rupees. Tomorrow $1 may become what? 85. Are you able to get this? Now, if this is the case, what will happen to my imports? Discuss that, no? If your rupee value is depreciating, you ask me depreciation, what will happen? If rupee value is depreciating, what will happen to my imports? Your imports will become what? Imports will become even more costly. Imports will become even more costly. Import is becoming costly means my essential goods like oil, when I'm importing it will become costly. Food, when I'm importing it will become costly. Fertilizer, when I'm importing it will become costly. When these are not just economics, these are not economic goods, food, oil and all. They are also political goods. Political goods means they will also decide elections. Okay, political goods means they will also decide elections. If these become too costly, if public gets frustrated, public will not understand economics, no. You say subsidies are bad for India and therefore we are not giving subsidy. You should pay from your pocket. What are you saying? For us, tell me what is the cost of petrol? What is the cost of diesel? Moreover, tax is also levied. Now the question is, when these things become costly, governments try to generally try to increase what? Government generally try to increase subsidy. Governments try to increase subsidy from their pocket. They are spending more money from their pocket. Then they are spending more money from their pocket means government tends to increase their what? Expenditure. Government tends to increase what? Expenditure. Revenue is not there, but government is spending and spending. That means government also end up what? Borrowing more. Government ends up borrowing more. Are you able to get this? That means it has every probability of increasing what? Fiscal deficit. That means if this current account deficit, if it is increasing continuously and you are not controlling this, if this current account deficit, if you are increasing continuously and you are not able to control this, government ends up borrowing more. Is this okay? Understood? No, that is what you should know. What time is okay? But I think current account. I think current account. You put the heading current account and leave. From there, I have to dictate. Okay, that is the logic there. Okay, so 8th 5-year plan. Put the heading current account deficit. Current account deficit. I'm not dictating now. Last 1 minute. There is one question. The question says, boom in economy is dangerous. Handling black money is easier before and why harder post. See, boom in economy when it is dangerous. Boom in economy when it is dangerous is, see here, I'll just give you one point. Boom in economy generally can create a gap between supply and demand. Boom is growth at a very fast pace. This is called as, it is expansion. Whenever this expansion is happening at a very fast pace, resources will be used very fast. This is the doubt. Resources will be used very fast. No, I need a lot of resources, I need a lot of raw material, etc. When resources are used at a very fast pace, that means you'll have demand at a very high rate. Demand will also be at a very high rate. Utilization of resources at a very high pace. There will be a gap between supply and demand. This is also called as a problem of heating of economy. Overheating you call it as. This is basically called as overheating. Overheating means too much of absorption of resources. Too much of growth at a faster pace, and therefore you will have a gap between supply and demand. Okay, supply demand gap will be there, and at times it can also, if that is not managed, it can also become what? Inflationary. That's all for today. We'll stop here. Thank you.